It says every parsha, like we said before, parsha is not parsha. It should be parsha yois because there's a lot of sufas and stumas. Right, by the way, Vayigash was full. I mean, very few sufas and stumas. Vayigash was so you have to. In other words, let's just repeat it very quickly. Sufas is if the line is it stops in the middle of the line, anywhere middle of the line, and it's empty for the rest of the line. That's psuchas, open parsha, and you need like more time to think, to comprehend and to digest the information. Stumus is if there's space between the last word and a few words later, empty spaces of many letters, and a few words later, after the space, it starts again on the same line. That would be stumus, verstoppt, closed up. Sort of narrowness versus expansiveness. So this week's parsha you have different than other parshas, which is this week's parsha Machlal, there's no space in between the last word of last week's parsha of Vayigash and the first word of the first parsha of this parsha of Vayechi. The question is why, and the so Rashi addresses Lama parsha zu satsuma. Why is it a satuma? Lefi, I can't see one second. Shekivin, Shenifta Yaakov Avinu, when Yaakov Avinu passed away, Nistamu Eineim V'Libim Shel Yisrael, the eyes and the hearts. See, the heart means over here the machshava, right? It was verstopft, it was totally stuffed up, and you couldn't think, you couldn't concentrate. Mitzoros hashibud sheskilu l'shabdam. It wasn't really, they didn't start shibud right away, but already when the tzaddik, the force of all bracha comes, dies, then why are you waiting for it? It still didn't happen for 17 years. Vachi Yaakov Shvayis Rishana Beretz Mitzrayim. But the point is that if you don't see good, you don't understand. If I'm sorry, if you don't see bad, you don't understand, you don't appreciate good. You don't see dark, you don't appreciate light. You don't see poverty, you don't appreciate wealth and everything. And if you're not, if the person's not sick and schwach, he or she doesn't appreciate health and koyach and strength and so on. So I think this is the theme of the whole sphere. But we can veer off, but basically this is the theme. What is the theme? The theme is if there's no space in between last week's parsha and this week's parsha, Pashup Pshat, that there was nothing to think about. Why does nothing? Because I have no capacity to think right now. Nistmu name velibam. I can't see anything. I can't hear. I can't understand. I can't comprehend. I can't think. And if I can't think, don't so you don't get time to space to think if you don't think. Why can't you think? Because already you see the doom and the gloom in the future. Now, but here's the catch. There's a big nafkamin which is very, very important. Yosef tells the brothers two things. First things that you sold me to slavery. You sold me to a dungeon. You sold me to the torture years, 13 years of torture, 1 year by Potiphar, and 12 years in jail, and all that is you sold me over here, right? The torture that they beat me up on the way to Mitzrayim, and Yosef had to stop by Mama Rachel and cry there. But the whole the whole ordeal of belittling Yosef to such a low degree, the lowest of the low, the most torturous years of the year. So that's one thing he tells them. On the other hand, he says, "Astirim and Ebay." Hashem shlochani, and Hashem made him a shliach. So what's pshat over here? By where do you have it? You have it by Yonasan and David, right? He says, "I'm going to shoot 3 arrows. If it goes further, you'll know you got to run for your life." What does Yonasan tell him to David? You're not running away from a yid loif nishtavek. A yid doesn't run away. It says ki tzlochacha Hashem. I can't remember the lashon now, but Hashem is sending you on a mission. Every Yid, you're not thrown away. You're not thrown in any airports. You don't miss flights and you don't miss trains and buses and opportunities and jobs. And because of you, I was late and I lost. No, there's no such a thing. The question is, where does Hashem put me as a shliach? I said this many times. I have to repeat it. Moshe Rabbeinu, shal nolechem al raglecha, take off your shoes because a holy place, a rich place. You don't make a hefsek, a chatzitza with your shoes. Shoes is a chatzitza between the ground and my body. But if it's a holy place, you don't need a chatzitza. You don't need a separation. You don't need a partition. So by the base of Mikdash, any holy place, you take off your shoes. So Hashem tells him, you're in my presence right now. The Shechina Shruya, take off your shoes over here. It's a Mokim Kaddish. Ki mokim shata ata oimedel of admas koideshu. Any place in the world where you will stand is admas kodesh, holy earth, and it's a holy place. You have to know you can either be a victim and you sold me here, you belittled me, you let me down, and so on and so forth, or you can say, Hashem sent me here, so therefore I'll bite. Although you meant to sell me here, but Hashem, Hashem sent me to bring life, to promote life, to imbue life in my family, my country, and the world over. So here's the word of this parsha Stuma. If it's so sussum, why isn't there no space in English's expression? There's no space, right, between me and him. That means we're very friendly. If there is a space, there's a chatzitza. That means nicht ay ay ay. Something is. It's not so like no. We're not like there's space between our two countries. There's space between our friendship. That means there's no close knit a yichus and no close relationship anymore. The connection has become tzebrochen in a way because this space in between. If there's no space in between, so the parsha we said the other weeks, I can't remember which week it was. There's Vayechi, Miketz, Vayigash. There's three parshas together. And the narrative goes through, the theme goes through all the three parshas. So what's the connection? The Torah is telling us, according to Rashi, there's no space between Vayeshev, Miketz, Vayigash, and Vayechi. You want to have the Vayechi, Yaakov, you have to go through. What's pshat in that? How do you get Ephraim and Menashe? How do you get it? Simchol Kimkefra will get to that, but you want to be so precious like Ephraim and Menashe. How do you get that? Only through Yosef. Yaakov upgrades Ephraim and Asher to be like his sons, but there's no way to get it like his sons. Well, so why doesn't Yaakov give birth to them? Because only through Yosef you can get Ephraim and Asher. Yosef had the experience of Vayeshev, Miketz, Vayigash. Only after that you can get fruitful and you blossom like Ephraim and Asher, exemplary for the whole Klal Yisrael for all times. You want bracha, Ephraim and Asher is a symbol of bracha, and we'll get to that. I'm gonna just throw in a little thing. Menashe kinashani lekim as base of as kolamot. Hashem made me forget. That's one way. I'm working to work about the victim, but that's not first. First is kefrani, frani from the word peris. He's blossoming, he's flourishing, he's multiplying. If somebody focuses on the shlichus of Hashem, then that's Vayechi Yaakov. But you can't get Vayechi Yaakov without suffering. You can't appreciate light if you don't know darkness. You can't appreciate all the blessings if you don't know a lack of blessings. So you have to have Vayeshi Miketz Vayigash to get to Vayechi Yaakov. Yaakov is the low madrega. Yisrael is the high madrega. Yaakov is the suffering Jew. But we'll get to that in a second. So the first lesson, we're starting off with a lesson over here, that if you want Vayechi, you have to, and now it's talking about death, the parsha, the beginning and end of the parsha, just like Chayisora, in the beginning and end of the parsha, Chayisora was Yisora passed away, and then at the beginning of the parsha, and then the parsha Avram passes away. Here also, Yaakov passes away, and then Yosef passes away. The point is, but it's life because the legacy lives on. It's not the cells of the body that keep on reproducing and change. That's not the physical part. The neshama and and the ma'asim tovim of the person, the good deeds, the person that lives on forever. It creates malachim, and it goes, and the ripple effect goes on forever. Not only one or two, three generations, forever. So let's work this out a drop. It says, "Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim 17 shana." Yaakov lives in Eretz Mitzrayim 17 shana. A few lines later, "Vayikrevu Yimei Yisrael Lomos." When it comes to Lomos, it says Yisrael. It doesn't say Yaakov. The Gemara says, "Why is Vayechi Yaakov?" It doesn't speak about the Mis of Yaakov. It says Vayomos Vayigva Alamov Vayosef Alamov Vayigva Vayomos. I'm sorry, Vayigva Vayomos Vayosef Alamov. What over here doesn't say the word Vayakov, doesn't say Vayomos. So, and it says Vayechi Yaakov, and it talks about the death, right? So, and it doesn't say Vayomas by Yaakov. By the other obvious Avram Yitzchak does say Vayomas. I didn't check it out, but that's what I remember. Why not? Because the Gemara says Yaakov Avinu loy meis. Yaakov Avinu didn't die. What does that mean? Didn't die? The Gemara says Mahu b'chaim, Ma zari b'chaim afu b'chaim. If his children bro kar davuo, if the bro is the son, is the legs, right, of the father. The legs are the children. They bring you forth. They bring you ahead. They continuously bring the legend of the father, the legendary office. It brings in. So if you leave a living moment, those moments live on forever through the children. So if his children are alive, then he's alive. In other words, he lives not only in Shemaim, but he lives through his children, and they feel the Avos, and they feel the Rebbes, and they feel the parents. People feel it if you take it along. If you ignore it, you don't feel it. But if you do, you feel the guidance, you feel the davening, you feel somebody above is davening for you. So many times you think, I'm not going to be matzliach, and clearly somebody davened for you. It was the schus of us and the schus of yesteryear. So it comes before Yevorach Yisrael. What's B'chol Yevorach Yisrael? So she say B'chem Yevorach Yisrael? No, it's B'chol Yosef. It's the Ovis. Only through the Ovis, then you have gebenched the kinder. Now Vayevorach Yaakov es Yosef, and it doesn't say what he benched him. He says Vid Goloy. It says Yevorach Esan Orim. Hamalach Golois Mikol Yevorach Esan Orim. But the best bracha is if the father sees successful children, they go in the Derech Hashem and they continue this legend, and they continue this liveliness of being Hashem's extension. So you continue to have it. So Vayechi Yaakov beretz Mitzrayim, Yaakov doesn't die. Yisrael can die. Vayikru Yimei Yisrael Lomos. Now the question is why? What is Yaakov Avinu? So Yaakov Avinu is the person that struggles all the time. Everything that he doesn't get anything for free. Everything, any hardship that can happen happens to him. Every step of the way is a struggle. Yaakov can never end the month. He has to drey here and drey there. And even if you find a Yaakov with money, he's going to have tzoros tzruris. Yaakov is a struggle. What's Yaakov? Yaakov is holding on to somebody, to Esav's heel. He's oiches bakei Esav. He holds on to Esav's heel. When you're holding on to Esav's heel, you can't have a full completing a full wholesome shlemus. You can't a full whole redemption. You're missing because you always need him to save you. I don't want to get into politics because I can't stand politics, and if I don't know politics, but if the second Eretz Yisrael needs the Esav of America, come save their backs. We're in Soros. We don't have Mashiach yet. We're still in Golos. And if we're dependent on them, and the more we're dependent on them, the more we don't have Mashiach. Everything, there's no lunch for free. There's always strings attached, and we don't have no menuchas hanefesh. So we need Mashiach. No big brother Esav can help us. Yisrael is kiserisim elikim v'anoshim v'atufel. You went out, now you're independent of Esav. That's Yisrael. Yaakov is dependent. The world can't stand a Jew that becomes Yisrael. And you call it Eretz Yisrael, they hate it all the more. The non-Jews, the anti-Semites can handle a Yaakov. Yaakov is the downtrodden Jew that is always dependent on the big brother Esav, and he's always in Agolosid. Such a person can never. The Welt is happy when it's Yoda Yechezes Bakev Esav. The second Yaakov leaves go and he surpasses Esav and he goes ahead of Esav. Esav can't take it and they want to destroy us. And that's the whole history of anti-Semitism. I'm not saying that why Hashem does anti-Semitism because we forgot about the Yiddilah inside us. So Hashem reminds, so the nations of the world are going to remind us. That's a different topic. What I'm saying is they cannot see the Yisrael kisarisa. They can't take the sarisa. They do like the Yisrael. They do like the Yisrael that's humble. It's the Yisrael that doesn't mix into their politics, doesn't confront them. It sits in all alone, levodat yishkoin. It's a lot easier once you get onto the stage and you start performing and you start promoting, and then the Jews, Sahib Tzachon Yisrael, they can't take it, especially to come in the land of Israel. So they can say happenstance. So some minorities make it. But if they come into your land when you're home and you're successful and you're still humble, they can't take it. They can't take it. Again, if the Jews are you know if the Jews are acting up to par, then Hashem gives a special chain. But unfortunately, we're the weak ones. We're the Beis Hillel people. We're not the Beis Shammai people, and therefore, it is what it is. So, Vayechi Yaakov beretz Mitzrayim, Yaakov Avinu loy meis. Yaakov loy meis. The Gemara says he didn't die, and the question is, the Gemara asks, so why did they do the fanota to preserve him and the whole geschäft over here and then the whole buried him? Well, just imagine if they wouldn't do the chanota, if they wouldn't preserve him, if they wouldn't give him all these chemicals, whatever it is, to preserve him, then they would look at him as a god. And they would look at him as a god because he doesn't need preservation. Days, this is 70 days. You're talking about 40 days. So many days go by and his body doesn't decompose. It's supposed to happen momentarily. With the worms and everything, they're going to consider him a god, and let alone if he's buried in Mitzrayim, he'll become a god, and everybody worshipped Yaakov, and Yaakov would have to pay dearly for that. Yaakov doesn't want that. That's not what I came for. So Anota is done in a way as if he's a regular person. No, he's not a god. He can't save himself. You have to do the process that you do for everybody else. The process they did more or less for the big leaders to preserve them forever. But again, the word over here is that they knew that Yaakov, the Nilus comes up, the Nile River comes up. They knew that Yaakov came in the hunger, the famine stopped for as long as Yaakov lived. It was all bracha, no negative, everything positive. And they really thought of him not a fake Egyptian leader that can save himself. A little kishiv there, and that's all he can stand. But Yaakov is a real bracha. Yaakov is a real source of blessing because he's got the Torah and he's got the Ovis, he's got Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov all incorporated into the Yaakov, and therefore Yaakov not to become a getchka. Avodah Zarah, Yaakov says, take me to Etzro right away. Don't wait like Yosef so many decades and then so many till they took him out when they went after 200 years from coming in at the beginning. So Vayechi Yaakov beretz Mitzrayim. So Yaakov loy meis. What means Yaakov loy meis? The Yid that's fatzolet the Yid, the Golus Yid is loy meis. You'll always have that life. But you know what? Hashem says that's what I like even more than the Yisrael. Ultimately, I want you to come to Yisrael. But Yisrael, Yisrael, when you're riding high, the Jew doesn't know how to ride high. Unfortunately, in our history, every time we were riding high, every time we fell like mamish like Gehenim. And Moshe Rabbeinu says at the end of Dvarim, I know that when after he dies, they're gonna go to the Baals, they're going to go to the Avodah Zorahs, they're going to go and trust in everything that instead of Hashem. They're going to put all the preferatory legions and dedication, devotion, and loyalty to other powers other than Hashem, and they're going to lose focus, and it's going to go down south. Now, unfortunately, we Jews know very well how to cope through struggle, and even to find simchas achayim, happiness of life and meaningfulness and purpose of life, and to fulfill our calling as much as we can according to our capacity and hasagas, right? Imaginations. Only we know how to do that. We win with flying colors. No nation knows how to survive like the Jew. But unfortunately, when we come to Israel, it can be lomas. You can fall down from that madrega. Yaakov, unfortunately, we lived Yaakov very well. We know how to struggle and come through and be loyal and keep our a pledge of allegiance to Hashem every day with the Shema Yisrael. But we don't know how to live the Yisrael for the long haul. Unfortunately, we need better times. We need Mashiach times, and therefore. Vayechi Yaakov, when it talks about Chaim, Yaakov in Loimeis, the struggle Loimeis, but Yisrael could unfortunately die. And this madrega of Yisrael, that when we surpass and we come independence of the Havli Olam Hazeh and all the people who try to take us down with them because they can't stand when the Yid goes beyond and above what his calling. Okay, so now he calls Vayikra. So let's go inside. Vayechi Yaakov beretz Mitzrayim shvasei shana. He lived in Mitzrayim 17 years. Why? What's this Vayechi? He lived. Vayechi is the gematria Vov Yud Ches Yud. You're talking about that's 28 plus is 30, 34 years. Yaakov lived with Yosef 17 years at the beginning of Yosef's life. And now in Mitzrayim, another 17 years, that's why he lived the best years of his life was with Yosef, that's the 34. Now, it's Shvarse Shona is now the last communion toiv. Vahi me Yaakov Shnei Chayav Sheva Shona Varborim Shona. He was 147 years. He lived 147 and instead of 180. So minus 33 years. Vayikru Yimei Yisrael Lamas. And we just spoke about a few lines later, Vayikru Yimei Yisrael Lamas, and he calls to Livnoi Yosef. And he tells him, please, I beg you, if I find favor, there was no other mitzvahs in those times. So the bris was the holiest thing. So that's they used to make a kavua. They used to put Vayirechi. Vasisa imodi chesed emes, do with me chesed and emes. Al nosig b'reinu Mitzrayim. Please don't bury Mitzrayim. He doesn't want to go through Gilgal Machilas. When the Tchias Mason comes, they have to go Gilgal Machilas. They have to, they have to Valgezich under the ground, all the way to Yisrael, which is painful. So Yaakov Avinu, that's Pashup Pshat. But another Pshat is Rashi said he doesn't want to become Avodah Zarah. So, and he wants to v'shechavtim avoysayin as a son of Mitzrayim v'tanu b'kula. Some, please take me to my parents. Not stamazoyin at Yisrael. Don't. So first pasuk he tells them don't bury me in Mitzrayim. I don't want to be avodah zarah. But the second thing is he wants to go dafka to Yisrael, where his parents, his forefathers, and his forebears are buried, and take me out of Mitzrayim and bury me over there. And Yosef said, I'll do like your words. That means I'm going to fulfill I'll give you my word. The Yaakov says, no, he says, please swear to me. Why do you have to swear? Because everybody knows that later Pari said, what do you mean you're gonna leave Egypt? Let somebody else go. We need you every day over here. It's mamish, it's so vital. Could you leave? It wasn't like today. You take a plane in the morning, you're back in the afternoon. It's so many days and weeks. So Yosef said, but if my promise means nothing to I swore to you that I won't reveal that you don't know Lashon Kodesh. Then the source of all language, the source of all communication, the source of Hashem's language, the forever lasting language. You don't know the source of all languages. What kind of intelligent king is that? So the point is that what's the difference between Lashon Kodesh? In other languages, you first create something, right? And then you need to call it something, a table, a chair, right? We said this many times. You create a chair, and then you have to call it something. So you say chair, right? In Hebrew, it's just opposite. First, you take the letters, right? And you make a tzira for oisius. And then, for instance, kiseh, we said this on many times, but maybe somebody didn't hear it. Kiseh, how do you spell kiseh? Kaf, samach, aleph. What's kaf? Kaf is a round thing to put something like a spoon, a palm is called kaf. Then you have samach talina, a thing that you can put something on, like a body, right? Like a chair, to lean on for the person to lean on the chair. And what's the aleph? The autumn, the person. So first you create the word. So the idea comes first, then comes the word, and then it comes machshavati, and then the ma'isa. So Hebrew is not, he probably doesn't, it's not pshat, he doesn't know another language. He doesn't know the source of all beings. He doesn't know the source of anything. So Yosef says, if I'm gonna, if I swore to my father that I'm gonna take him to Egypt, me personally. So if I don't keep the shvua, then then I don't have to keep the shvua by you too. I can reveal that you don't know the source of communication. You don't know the source of every being. You don't know the source of every possession in this world. Anything, any material, any matter, you don't know the source of it. You're not connected. So he says, okay. So he wants a shvua. So Vaishovalain, he swore to him, Yosef swore to Yaakov, Vaishtachu Yisrael Rosh Hamita. Yisrael is now, what happened? It's not Yaakov. Yisrael is bowing on the Rosh Hamita. What's Rosh Hamita? The head of the bed. So, okay, Rashi says that Mikan, right? The Shechina is straight Merashois of the Merashois comes from the word Rosh from the Choyle, right? Okay, now Chazal. So let's break it. Let's break it up over here. Let's try to explain. He calls the Livno Yosef. Why is he called Dafka Yosef? Why doesn't he make his other son swear? Right? Why Dafka Yosef? So Pasha Pshad is over here. He tells him, Ukvartani bekurasam. I want to be by Shechafti Mavoisa. I want to be with my parents. What's going on here? When somebody dies, what happens? You want to bury him next to the wife. You know, if there's not, if some places only men, and I know my father's father, there's one section for the men, and then the other section on one side is section, and the other side is section of the ladies. So they're not together. It was a kehillah, it was a chevra, whatever. But many times, if it's possible, you want to, originally was like Yaakov says himself. Yaakov says, "Shom kavarti Avrom ve'Sarishta." His father Yitzchak and Rivka's wife, and over there he wants to be buried. So usually you want to be buried next to the wife. So if Leah is Maris Machpelah, so he wants to be next to Maris Machpelah. Now, so if Yaakov passes away, if he passes away, then you bury him next to his wife. So you don't have to convince the children that please don't bury me here and bury me, oh Israel. You know, we're in Israel next to my wife. Of course, that's his wife. So Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yudi, Issachar, Zvulun, they're going to say, of course, next to mommy, next to Leah. Yosef can say, 1 second, I want him next to my mother, his wife. So Yosef can say, I'm not going to bury him in Machpelah, I'm going to bury him in Kever Rachel. So Yaakov has to, he has to make Yosef do a shvua, commit himself to a shvua, to swear that, and so you can't break Chas v'Shalom. So therefore Yosef had to be sworn in, had to swear, and not his brothers. Weiter. He says, I beg you. Why does he have to beg? Kibbadav. Tells him Kibbadav, I'm giving you a Kibbadav, a command. It's fully within his rights to command him to do the mitzvah, bury him in Eretz Yisrael. The Torah says if he gives him a command, then he can't get him to swear. What's the he can't get him to swear? He can't get him to swear because once you have a mitzvah of Kibbadav, you can't swear to do a mitzvah. You're not allowed to swear, I'm going to do a mitzvah. Why? It's a shvur shav. You anyway have to do it. So what are you swearing? I swear that it was day today and it was day yesterday also. What do you swear? It's shvur shav. It's just for Nord. So therefore Yaakov couldn't have gave him a command. So he says, chesed ve'emes. Chesed, do chesed. What's the chesed? You don't owe it to me. Chesed means I do it even if I don't owe it to you. So please do me the favor and bury him in Mitzrayim. Now, so Pashup Pshat is he's begging him because otherwise he can't do a shvua. That's chesed. So what's emes? So Pashup Pshat, he says, do the chesed with me and swear that that's good after the swearing it's going to be emes. See, it's chesed now in order for the emes afterwards. Once it's said steadfast emes that this is the fact right now, you swore. That's it. You have to keep it. So why didn't I do without the shvur? Because without the shvur, Pari is gonna find the tenants to back to lay out and say, "I'm sorry, you can't go. You're loyal to your father. You're loyal to the nation. If you want to bury, why don't you bury your father here? There's a beautiful option to bury here. We'll all be happy. You want to go bury him somewhere else where he didn't die? Why would you take it out of the country, in the state, in the city? The Torah says you're more loyal to Israel than you're loyal to us. But now that he made a shvur, so in order to the shvur should be valid, he has to do first chesed. In other words, to beg him because he doesn't owe it to him, as if he's doing only a chesed, and then that turns into emes. Beautiful Pashup Pshat. But Rashi, that's Pashup Pshat. Rashi is saying chesed she'oisim emameisim. That is who chesed shem is. She'inu mitzapel l'tashlum gmul. It's chesed that you do with mesim is called chesed shalemis. Why is it called emes chesed? Grew, to the core, because she'inu mitzapel l'tashlum gmul. If you realize, Rashi is saying that he's not awaiting for to being paid, right? To being paid for it, to being reimbursed, to being awarded. Rashi's not saying that. Rashi, I'm sorry. Rashi Poshup Pshat is if a kid opens a Rashi, he says Sheinim Mitzapel Tashmul because he's not awaiting Tashmul Gemul. He has no hope. Why? The guy is dead. What is he going to do after he buries him? He's going to get out of the burial and write him a check. I mean, is that guy going to come and bury him back when he dies? No, Mitzapel Tashmul. That's Poshup Pshat. But the first the kasha is, what do you mean? It says in this fus, Yosef buried his father, so the brothers buried him also, right? So when he dies, somebody buries him. That's mida connected mida. You bury somebody else, somebody bury you. So what's up, shot? There was mida connected mida. Yosef was buried, and they put with his bones for 40 years in the mikvah. It was no easy task. I tell it says parts of it. There's the test and the emes. Tested, he begged him to bury him, he buried him. And what's the other part? The other part is, okay, forget about the chesed emes aspect over here. Worship shot. Yosef wasn't buried in the Eretz Yisrael right away like Yaakov. So the fact that he was buried in Eretz Yisrael is one thing, but then the fact that he wasn't buried for many, many, many decades, Yosef, lived. We'll speak about it in a second, but um, Yosef lived 110 years, and Chazal say he lived the least. It's questionable if not everybody holds he lived the least. There's a sheet in the Gemara, but let's say okay, you can say that he because one of his brothers also 110 years, but you can say that he lived a day shorter than his brothers. But after we'll answer the answer, you'll see it's much better than this answer. So you can say Yosef lived 110 years, let's say, and a day, and the other one lived 110 years and a month or in a few months, whatever it is. Okay, but I'll give Baruch Hashem good answers. So the question over here is Yosef. So the question was, if you bury somebody, you get buried yourself. How many times you had stories people bought a plot and then they was to Kevuras Yisrael, although they weren't from and they were in some home over there, and we're going to give them a non-Jewish burial. And so this person, Punkt walked in and they saw the guy. They said, we have a Jewish person. He took him in the minivan, no special cars. He just put down the seats and schlepped into New York. Many stories. Right? So you see that if you bury somebody that and then the person was also to have a minion because he paid out other people to have a minion. All these different stories. So why is Rashi saying it's not it's a shalemis because you're not getting back paid? You do get back paid. So one teretz we just gave now, you get back paid that that although he took you get only paid that you buried, but the fact that Yosef had to wait so many decades and decades in Mitzrayim, and then throughout the whole Mitzrayim, way over 100 years, and then he had to wait another 40 years in the midbar till they brought his Atzomis to Shechem in Eretz Yisrael. That took forever, and therefore that part that's the emes part. That part is emes because you don't get paid back because he buried Yaakov right away, a few weeks after he passed away, and here they buried him many, many decades after he passed away. So that's what. But then I love this thing. I don't remember who I heard it from. I don't remember. Maybe it was my good friend Reb Shal Yitzchak Tzeinrit from Stone. Maybe I don't know. I don't remember. But chesed she'oisim imamesim is chesed shelemus. Why? Beini mitzapel tashlum. Rashi doesn't say it's she'enim bekabel tashlum gmul. Rashi says she'enim mitzapa dafka. Daiker enim mitzapa. If it's not mitzapa, a person says moichel toivis Rebbeinu Shalom. I buried him right away, and moichel toivis on the mida connected mida. I can wait. I want to wait till 120, and then we'll deal with it. Right now, she'enim mitzapa l'tashlim gmul. Nobody does ches and says, "I wish somebody buries him tomorrow." Oh no, I can wait. Moichel toivis. That's pshat she'enim mitzapa l'tashlim gmul. So that's a cute pshat in Rashi. Let's go right. Um, Rashi says, "Kol vayikra v'mei Yisrael lomus, kol mi shenema boy kreiv lomus, lo yigia lemei avoisav." Right? It says Yitzchak chai kuf peiv, Yaakov kuf mem zayin. Right? So the point is that if you're having vayikra v'mei Yisrael lomus, that means you didn't come to avoisav. What's pshat over here? Of course, Yitzchak lived 180. Avram Avinu gave away his extra years, 5 years, for David HaMelech. No, Pashup Pshat is that Adam gave it away. But we said in Shurim before that really Avram gave 5 years, and between Yosef and his father Yaakov, they both lost many years of their life, and they made it up to 70 years for David Melech. But that's not the point of here. Rashi says that Yaakov didn't live up to his period. What does Rashi mean over here? If you think about, it doesn't say Vayikru Yimei Yaakov Lomos. It says Vayikru Yimei Yisrael. What's the dogish on Yisrael over here? So we said a pshat before, when it's Yaakov, he's struggling, and Hashem says the struggle is what I want to see. I want to see how you're trying. And when you try only through the struggle, you only through Vayechi Miketz Vayigash, you get a Vayechi. You only get such children like Ephraim and Menashe after the struggle. It doesn't happen. How does the Pasuk say later? I'm going to say it now. The Pasuk a little later says, it's a great the page, so I'll say from this Chumash. The Pasuk says, Va'ato, right? Now, the two sons that were born to you in the land of Egypt, until before I came to you in Mitzrayim, they belong to me. In other words, I'm upgrading to them from my grandchildren to the status of my children. And like Ephraim and Menashe, Reuben and Shimon Yuli, Ephraim and Menashe is going to be considered like Reuben and Shimon. So what's Pshat over here? Pshat is before I came to the land, so I struggled with Esav, then with Lavan, and again with Esav, running away from Esav, enduring Lavan's 20 years of torture, and then 2 years getting back that with Esav again. Coming back to Yisrael, Esav tried to stop me. They don't want us to be in the land of Israel. They never let us win. Looking every time, even in the last 2 years, every time the Yidden want to win, the Esav say, no, stop, peace, ceasefire. They can't. They don't even know it subconsciously. I'm talking about those. I'm not talking about the anti-Semites. I'm talking about the lovers of Israel. I'm talking about the people, if not for them, in the American government, for other religions that are supporting Israel, are vouching for Israel. I'm talking about those people subconsciously. Asaph can never let something in their mind goes meshuggah, goes crazy, and they say, "Stop! No, no, I can't have it. Let the Jew finish the job. You have another week or two, a month, whatever's let." No, they can never let the Jew. So you Asaph had to come and fight. You have it later also, but right now I can't. Hopefully, I get to it. So Yaakov says, my 12 children, my 11 children, they were born through pain and torture. After that, you get shiftei kah. Binyamin is also torture because his mother died b'shas after it was after birth, not b'shas after birth. And if his mother died again, he had a father, but he's missing his mother. Again, he had torture. He endured torture. He endured a difficult life. Therefore, he can be also shiftikah. Says Yaakov, Ephraim and Menashe, Keruv and Shimon. What's Ephraim, Menashe, Keruv and Shimon? They also had a torturous life, living all alone, a Jew. And we read in the parsha, the Mitzrayim can't eat together with the Yidden. Kita'evi li Mitzrayim. How could you eat bread, break bread together with Jews? They're not vegetarians and vegans like the Egyptians. How could you do that? It's a teiva from Mitzrayim, and it's abomination from Mitzrayim, and therefore um, Yaakov says, Ephraim and Manasseh endured this torture. Before I came, they were all alone, no family, no support, no moral, no mental, no psychological support. Yosef becomes a king, alles fein and voil, aber. It's a felt, there's something missing. They don't belong to these. It's different. Everybody's different than them. Nobody respects it. They respect Yosef as long as the Jew is so successful and brings them a lot of wealth and health and alle gute Sachen, of course. But the second the Jew, tell to find, you have to find, when you can find out, tell your spouse or whatever it is, you lost your job and you lost everything. Tell your friend you lost everything. Then you know if the guy is a true friend. If there's nothing going for you and they don't see a future ahead of you, then you can see the true colors. When Yosef is yes, Mishnah Lamelech, but as a Jew, they were struggling, they were being tortured and had to fight not to be influenced from the outside world. That Yaakov says that I can upgrade into shiftei kah. But any children, so he says weiter. Okay, so we have over here um so if you don't have the torture and you don't have the difficulties, you don't have the Yaakov life, then it's you don't get upgraded to shiftei kah. So the children that Yaakov said, the children that he's going to have after that, it won't be the shiftei kah because they didn't suffer. So let's go weiter. So what does it mean? Vayikrivu Yimei Yisrael Lamos? What's the Yisrael? So it's a pshat is azoi. Yaakov Avinu, when did Avram Avinu get his name Avraham? When he was 99, right? And he said, now I'm giving you a new mazel, a mazel Yisrael type of mazel, and a special Jewish mazel that it's a mazel of Vayoitze Oisa Achutza. And he says, Spoira Akosovim, please count the stars. And he said, Koya Zeracha. What is he saying? Because he's going to have Enikel of Yosef, they went out of his way to be committed to Hashem, to cleave to Hashem, to stay loyal to Hashem. And only that's why you're going to have, and he didn't play it by the rules of the world, and he stuck it out. And just like Ephraim and Manasseh stuck it out, and they stayed loyal to Judaism, although they were all alone without any family, no cousins, no uncles, no aunts, no grandparents, and they stuck it out in Mitzrayim, the Shtufe Zima. So the thing that when they stayed so loyal to Hashem, so Avram Avinu gets to live and to produce doiris and to have a child, when he's 99, I'm taking you out, I'm adding on the hay. Eidos be hoy safe. Yosef gets that very hay, and he gets the hay that he invested. Avram gets he gets the hay, and Avram Avinu gets a new name by 99 years old. He gets a new name. What's the name now? Not Avram, Avraham. Now, when does Yaakov get the name Yisrael? Yaakov gets the name Yisrael also by 99. Yaakov was 84 when he got married, right? So that's 63 plus 14 years plus 7 years, 84, right? Now he gets married and he has to live there another 7 years. 84 plus 7 is 91. 91, and then let's say another 6 years is 90 that he worked, right? So it's another 6, that's 91 is 97. Plus it took him 2 years to get home from Lovin to Yitzchak. That's 99. When he got before going to Lovin, he got from the Malach, but that doesn't count. He got from the Eibishter. Auguspanka, your name is going to be Yisrael, and it won't be called Yaakov, although he still calls him Yaakov because he's still struggling in this world. But Yisrael he got when he was 99. Says the Torah, Vayikrevu Yimei Yisrael Amos. And Rashi says every time there's a kreva here, call me, Shenem boy kreva Amos. Every time it says kreva Amos, Lo Yagia Lemei Avoisov. He doesn't come to the, what doesn't come? Not Vayikrevu Yimei Yaakov Amos. Yaakov lived the whole life from zero, from day one till 147. But Yisrael didn't live a full life. Why? Because he didn't live Lemei Avoisov. What does that mean? Avram Avinu, after getting by 99, he gets the name Avraham with the hay. He lives to 175. But Yaakov Avinu lives only to 147. He didn't live to 175 like Avram Avinu with the new name. So that's why every time call me, Shenem boy Krevelomos, it means Lo Yagia Lemei Avoisav. He doesn't come to Avoisav with the Yisrael, not with the Yaakov. With the Yisrael, he doesn't come. Okay. So Yaakov Avinu lives 147 years. So why didn't he? Why did he live only 147 years? Because we said the other weeks we said Pshat is that he said that last week he comes to Pari Kami Mecheach, and Pari says Pari asks him Kami Mecheach how much. He says 130 years, but it's Mat V'Roim. Why does he have to add a Mat V'Roim? So Pashut, that's one pshat. The 33 words of the Torah, it's every word. In other words, his Fakmarta face, that he was all doomed and gloom, and he was all like depressed. So Hashem says, "What? I didn't save you? Why are you walking around so depressed?" To give Pari that intrigued Pari to say, "How old are you? I mean, you look really, really, really down and old." So he's saying that. Mat V'Roim, right? I'm not that old, but Mat V'Roim, that's why I look like that. But the question, so because you triggered Pari to ask, so even the question of Pari also includes the 33 years. But here's another pshat. It says, Yaakov Avinu says, Lo Yichya. Whoever you'll find the Terafim, the Getchkel of David Zora, and he didn't know, V'lo Yoda, he didn't know that Ki Rochel Genavosam, that Rochel stole it. But if because of Yaakov, somebody dies. We said in the previous weeks, and we said if Yaakov if you cause somebody else, then the person gets it. Because if he or she cause somebody to be punished, they get punished. If he or she caused somebody to have a loss, they get a loss. If he or she caused Yenim torture and pain and so on, they get it. Yaakov caused Rachel to die. Yichya Yichya, the gematria of Yichya is Yud Ches Yud Hey. Yud is 10, Ches is 18, another Yud is another Ches 28, and then another 5. Hey is 5 is 33. Yaakov said, Lo Yichya, he won't live. So she was supposed to live another 33 years because of him. She didn't live, so he lost also 33 years. Lamaisa. I want to say a positive shot, Mat V'Roim. Why Taki Yaakov Avinu, the Bechir Shabbat is the chosen one from all the 3 patriarchs. He's going to say Mat V'Roim. It's not pshat. I mean, the other pshat are good, but I want a positive pshat. Yaakov Avinu comes to Pari, and Pari sees the Nile River rises up and waters all the plants and waters all the farms and waters all the fields, and it's mamish a bracha. There was a brach before, 2 years of famine, of hunger, and now mamish, everything changed right now. And not only it's not, there's no hunger, it's blossoming, it's so blessed, it's so fruitious, it's mamish, it's filled. And so Ari says, Oy vey Yaakov, you look like you're dying. How old are you? Are you still, are you going to stay alive? Are you within 5 years of your parents or something? Yaakov, what's going on here? So Yaakov says, calm down. There's another 5 years of famine. I guarantee, I'm telling you, I'll still live. So why do you look so old? He says, Ma'at v'roim, because it looks smart because it was roim. But if it wouldn't be roim, so Yaakov is telling Pari, don't worry, through the famine, I'm still around. The bracha will stay. You don't have to. There's nothing to be worried about. So okay, let's get back to this parsha. Yeah. So where are we up to? Oh, v'shachaftim avoysa. He wants to be buried with avoysa. You know, sasanu mitzrayim k'vatanu k'vura. Some vayim anochi esachid v'recha. He wants to be buried. So Chazal teach that Yaakov. I think that the other weeks we said it. He gave away all his money to buy the plot, and then Esav came. Lo meshkel gam shnechem b'yom echad. He ended up Hushim ben Dan came and knocked off Esav's head, and his head that did the machshava part that went into the Maras Machpelah, and and uh, and he was buried there. We okay, so I'm going to jump ahead now. It says late in the parsha, um, Vayosh here. Vayoshev Yosef Mitzrayim. Yosef goes back after burying his father. He goes back to Mitzrayim. Who him ve'echav and his brothers. All those that went up to Eretz Yisrael from Egypt. You have to go up north to Eretz Yisrael northeast. So they went up to bury to Mars Machpelah Hebron. Likbaris Oviv, Achrei Kobrei Oviv. What means Likbaris Oviv, Achrei Kobrei Oviv? What's the pshat in that? So there's 2 points I want to bring out over here. First of all, there's a good kasha. When it says Vayal Yosef, a few psukim forward, it's Pasuk Zion. We just read now Pasuk, we've read Pasuk Yudalit 14. Now we're reading Pasuk Zion 7. Vayal Yosef Likbar Yosef went up to Eretz Yisrael to bury his father. Vayalu to Kalav Fari, and all the servants of Paro went up with him. Ziknei Beis v'chol Ziknei Eretz Mitzrayim. The kids said the whole Chadgadi, the whole delegation. We're talking about who knows if tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Welt. It was very impressive. How it says clearly in the Torah right after that. V'choil Beis Yosef, the whole house of Yosef. Ve'echov u'Beis Aviv, and his brothers and his father. Only the kinderlach, the kids, vulnerable to the elements, they stayed behind with everybody, with all the cattle and everything else. It was an unbelievable scene, and they came to Gorin Otod, and it's a variadin. They had a big hesped, big eulogies. Mispid Godel recovered Moed Vayaslov Eva Shiva Selma. They did again. They do Vaita Shiva 7 days. Vayal Yoshev Haaretz Haknani Ese Evil Begorinotod. The people of Canaan and the Nesiah Yishmol saw what's going on. Vayomre Evil covers El Mitzrayim. King Garishmo Evil Mitzrayim. Ovil Mitzrayim. They called it. They saw the Evil covet and they called it Ovil Mitzrayim. What's on the other side of the yard? Okay. And then Vayazbon Eloi Kashet Tzivom, his children did like he commanded them. The next passage, Vayisoi Sabon of Arts Canaan. They took him to Eretz Canaan. They buried him in the Maris Machpelah, the double cave that that Avram bought from Ephraim Achiti, and in front of the people of Mamre. Vayoshev Yosef Mitzrayim hu v'echov v'chol oim litzay. And Yosef goes back to Mitzrayim after the whole ordeal, him and his brothers v'chol oim litzay. So here you see the difference. When it starts off, it says first Yosef, and then it says Kol Avdi Pari Zikin Beisim Chol Zikin Eretz Mitzrayim. The whole Große delegations, different groups, and very distinguished delegates from Mitzrayim. Only after that it says V'chol Beis Yosef in the house of Yosef, and after that Esav and his brothers of Esav in the house of his father. Why did they come the last over there? Clearly, they don't respect them enough. They don't see them as the key players over here. This is Yaakov that brought credence to Mitzrayim. He brought grace, covet to Mitzrayim. He brought prestige to Mitzrayim. Of the whole Middle East, nourished from Mitzrayim. This was a super, super duper power. What the Yiddelach over there? They were Geisha. They were learning. They were davening. They weren't key players in society. So Yaakov was the big thing, but they were, noch schleppers. Sort of. Well, all of a sudden, when it comes, when the Vayal Yoshev, it's a Kanani. 1 second. Vayal Yoshev, it's a Kanani, Sevil, Begoil Oded, and the Kanani kings make a big deal about it, and then the CA, the princes of Yishmael, make a big deal of it, and they say 1 second. So Chazal teach that they brought the crowns, right? They took off the crowns and put it on the Oren, saying total, it's like bowing down and submitting to this great thing. So what's going on here? The Mitzrayim see that all these kings, all these places where the Jews originate from Eretz Yisrael, they see if they're, they're paying such respect to this prestigious family. Oh, obviously, these brothers are very special. So although they're Jews and they're sitting in their ghetto and they're living alone and they don't mix and they don't mesh with our crowds, but they're extremely prestige. When they were carrying their father's cave, Oren. By the way, Emes is the Rosh Tavis. Aaron meet and Tachrishin, that's the Emes. So the brothers were carrying Yaakov with Tachrishin, and the Aaron they were carrying, and they saw that the kings went, they put their crowns on it, and they bowed down to them. But covered Malachim over here. So now the Mitzrayim understood that I can't keep these guys in the back. These guys maybe don't, in a sense, they don't. They don't contribute maybe in a financial way, but they contribute in the prestige way. Now, if the Gans Olim looks at them like, wow, we better keep him in the front, right next to the Yaakov. So, on the way back, they kept Yosef in prestige. There's a mashal, I think the Dubin Mag gives this mashal, there's a guy walking a bully. He thinks he's a big knaka. He bullied everybody around in his class and then in his institute and so on. So he thinks he's the bully of the block. So he walks by the place and a stone went flying from one floor. It wasn't meant for him. It happened to bump down and it went on banging on the floor, bounced over, and it went and hit him. And he said, a chutzpah, somebody from this building threw out. Ooh, he's going to go take care of them now. Meroiv Kasif, from his whole wrath, he walks in, there's walk-in, and the first floor, Tomat Knisa, so he walks in, I don't know, ground floor, but kids say the walk-in floor, and he walks in and he bangs on that door, and it takes a while, but then an old couple opens the door, little guys, and they're so innocent, they can barely walk, both with walkers. They can't even pick up the hands to throw something. He says, no, I'm sorry, no, never mind. They for sure didn't throw the rock. So that's the first floor. Second floor goes to the apartment of the second floor. You have a young couple, fairly young, These guys, most edel in the shamas, they can't open their mouth. They can barely speak. They come to the door. They're shivering. They have no idea. Yes, yes. How can we have? You need water in there. He sees these guys that their windows are closed for the taped up for the winter already. These guys don't know what to throw. Say garnish. These guys don't know. They would never harm a fly. It's for sure not them. Now he's going up to the third floor. Dort, net the Shemach, and it's only 3 floors. Now he says, before he didn't know, now he's for sure. He's so positive. He's for sure going to give me Azana covers so they'll forget the names. He walks up to the third floor and he bangs on the door, and then the door opens up and he sees a belt and then a button, another button, and all of a sudden he realizes there's a mountain standing in front of him, a 7 foot, few 100 pound muscle, full muscle champion of the world, the strongest man and the biggest champion in all different fighting and everything else. He just made the mistake of his life that he banged on that door. That guy chops him by the gargle, picks him up in the air, and he says, "Who do you think you are banging on my door?" So Mamish, he knows he has 2 seconds to live, and the guy is going to strangle him in a second with the 2 fingers. So he says, "No, no, no. I'm trying to say, I walked on the street and I thought you dropped it and I came to bring it back to you. I thought it's important. I have no idea. So I came to, from screaming and beating up the guy, he sit it in the Baina. And he says, please, when they started off, the Groise Knackers in Mitzrayim fought. But then when they saw how they respected the brothers of Yosef, it's a whole different chadgad, a whole different geschichte, a whole different attitude. Everything changed. Now they're walking back, right? But it says here, interesting in Pasuk Yudalit, it says, "Vayoshev Yosef Mitzrayim hu v'chav v'chol olim itoy." Yosef went back to Mitzrayim, him and then his brothers, and then all the people that went out with him. Likbar Esaviv to bury his father. After burying his father. It's redundant. They burying his father. So what's a pshat? So there's a few pshat. Let's start. Let's see how far we get over here. One pshat is that if a tzaddik, a rabbi, a chashuv, a person walks, it's not kovedik to walk on his right side. You have to walk on his left side. So if you're going with your rebbe, you walk on his left side. What happens if there's 3 people walking? Then you put the chashivs, the person in the middle, the second to the most chashivs, the person on the right side, and the least of the chashivs, the person on the left side of the middle, the most important one. So Avram Avinu is buried in Maras Machpelah, and he's buried next to his wife. How the Torah says, Yaakov says, I buried next to Avram, next to Sarah, Yitzchak next to him, and so on. Now you have over here, the problem is when Leah dies and you have to bury Leah, what do? If you have to bury Leah, then he has to put a plot for him and his wife, Yaakov Avinu. What is he going to do? What he's going to do is he's going to take, if he puts himself and Leah on the right side of Avram, it comes out his father's less chashuv. That's terrible. It's against Kibbutz. So Kibbutz Aveim. So what Yaakov had to do is to dig up Yitzchak and Rivka, take him out of the left side of Avram, dig a new 2 graves next to each other on the right side of Avram, with enough space between Avram and Sarah. So you have Yitzchak and the Rivka on the right side of Avram, and then Yaakov put a place for Leah and himself. So the Torah says they went up Likboy here. Likboris Aviv, they went up to they went back to Mitzrayim after Likboris of after they buried his father. Achrei Kovreis Aviv, after Yaakov reburied his father before, in order to when Leah passed away, in order he shouldn't be his slot shouldn't be on the right side and his father on the left side of Avram, so he should be on the left side. Okay, now let's get back at Rav. So Vayachat dvarim- Vayomer, so he buried them in the right place. Vayomer Anochi Esek Gevrecha, I'll do like the kash is, he says to Yosef, go bury him in what's it called, in Eretz Yisrael, and later he mentions it again, and then Rashi says, don't have kindness for me that he buried his mother Rachel not in the right place and so on. Why doesn't it say over there? Why not over here? It should say it. We'll get to it in 2 seconds, but I just want to mention the kasha here. It should, when he says, "Please bury me with my forefathers," with Avram, Yitzchak, and Avram, and sorry, Yitzchak and Rivka, and of course Adam and Chava. But he was talking about the others. And he said, "V'noichi esek kedverecha." So why doesn't Yaakov explain himself then? Why does he let Yosef have the kashas that I know you have faribel on me? I know you were slighted. I know you feel bad that I didn't care about your mother. I just buried her on the side of the road and so on. So the answer is, when Rashi brings down, when Nevuzradin is going to chase away the Jews and send them to Golus, the Jews will walk by on the main. There was the main way over there, the sort of the highway, and on the side of the highway was Rachel. They'll stop and cry by Rachel, and Rachel is going to cry to Hashem. And why punkt Rachel, not Leah? Why put Leah to cry? Why punkt Rachel? And the Teretz says, no, I had to put Rachel because only Rachel has a good time. And what's the winning argument by Rachel? I wasn't jealous of my sister Leah, and I gave away the simonim and the parole, the code, and now and now you're being jealous of other gods. Come on, if I have it in me, you for sure have it in you. How could it be? I can forgive and you don't forgive. So Rachel cried. That's true tears of a Yiddish mama. And Rachel didn't only cry for her children; she cried for all the children. And therefore, Hashem says, "Mini koili mi bechi v'nayich medima." Please stop crying. I can't take it. And He promised the shavu bonim gvulam, and all the children will come back to Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, I had to bury her on the side of the road, not in the Morris Machpelah. So only she has that taina that she gave away to Simonim. Nobody else has that taina. Now, Noichi, so why doesn't Yaakov explain himself over here? Right when he introduces the thing that please take me to to out of Mitzrayim and take him to Eretz Yisrael and should bury him in Eretz Yisrael. Why doesn't Yaakov explain it over there? Why only later? We'll get to that in a second. Then he tells him to swear, and he swore to him, "Vayishtachu Yisrael aroi shamita." Yisrael bows. What's Yisrael? Why not Yaakov? Why Yishtachu Yisrael aroi shamita? First of all, Yaakov Yaakov is Yaakov in the Loimeis. Okay, you can say that, but over here there's a word over here. When Yosef, right? Yaakov, what's the gematria of Yaakov? 530. I'm sorry, 541 is. I'm sorry. What's the gematria of Yaakov? Not 172. What's the gematria of Yisrael? Gematria of Yisrael is 541. Now, okay, I'll explain it a drop later. Let me go a little further over here. 1 second, let me just away it's disturbed. So it says, "Vayach acharei advarim eila." After that, Vayomer Yosef Hine avicha choyle. What's Hine? Hine is in Russian and Ukrainian. Vot. It's like behold. It's like it's all of a sudden. It's sort of surprising. That's the Hine. Behold means how did it get from here to here? How did you get from the last thing? What's the connection? It's like surprising. Hine avim choyle. So Chazal teach that nobody got sick before for dying. Before dying, Yaakovina asked he should be sick. Right? It shouldn't happen in not like a sneeze and then goodbye. He should be able to prepare himself. And since then, Yaakov was the first one. So it's Hine was shocking. Hine avicha choyle. But there's a cute word in Remez. Hine is hey nun hey. 550 and 5 together, 60. The Gemara says if you come to visit a sick person, you take away 1/60th, right? Echad mishishim, take away from this choili. So the fact that Yosef came to be mavak choila, then it says, "Vaishachu Yisrael aroi shamita." Yisrael bent over to the Rosh Hamita, to the head of the Mita. Okay, Hamita, Hey is 5, Mem is 40, that's 45, Tes is 54, another 5 is 59. So from 60, you have 59 over here. Let's go a little further. Vayikach es Shnei von of Imoy, he took his children with him, as Menashe as Ephraim. He took Menashe and Ephraim with him to visit Yaakov. Why? He wants a bracha. If he's spoiler, he might be dying. So he wants a bracha. Okay. Vayagid li Yaakov, hine bincha. Hine bincha Yosef boilech, v'yischaz Yisrael ve'ishal alamita. So they told him, Ephraim, and he knew Ephraim and Menashe. He learned with Ephraim. 17 years he was busy with teaching, especially Ephraim. Menashe also had a shaykhs, but so he brought Menashe Ephraim to give him a bracha. Vayumi Yaakov el Yosef kil shakayin rabuz men. It's going on by Rochas. Vayumi like hini mafrecha vir besicha. I'm going to multiply you. I'm going to make you fruitful. Unesaticha lekalama. I'll give you to many nations. Not I'll give you this land. Lezalcha to your children, to your descendants, acharecha after you, achuz asoilim, ibika arbteil. This is going to be a eternal heritage. In other words, there's no such a thing that you leave Israel for a few years and you come back and they tell you, no, I'm sorry, you're not the owners, you're colonizers. And next thing you talk, it's achuz asoilim. It's always a holding, a stronghold forever. It's an internal stronghold. Va'ato shnei vonecha. Now your two children that were born to you in Eretz Mitzrayim until I came here, they're going to be as if they're my children, Ephraim and Menashe, Keruvim and Shimon. So we spoke about it before, that he's upgrading, he's changing the status from Einiklach, now from grandchildren, now they're becoming like children, shift they call the tribes of Hashem's tribes, one of the 12 tribes. Now, why Dafka Keruvim and Shimon? Dafka Keruvim and Shimon is what's Pshat Keruvim and Shimon? Ruvain Veshimon is when you start off, you go to Shlichus and you go out some Hudson plots. You go to you hoop it somewhere. I don't know, like Hoboken. I don't know, Mississippi. You go out to Weissensville. Hoboken has a Jewish community, but you go to some place and you don't have from people around, and you have to start off a Jewish family, and you start off with Reuben and Shimon by Lavan. Yaakov Avinu starts off, introduces Judaism to Rachel and Leah, and they're not from FFBs from birth. And then he introduces to Bilhah and Zilpah as well. And he starts work, and then he has to deal with a Lavan that's trying to be Lakir Sakoil, to take uproot everything from the root, from the core, and he has to fight the influences, the most horrible, torturing influence of the lowest of the low of Lavan, with the smile, nicht wahr, isn't that so? The German Nazi fascist smile during the Holocaust. Germans did a lot of tshuva after the Holocaust. They repented after the Holocaust. I'm talking about those that participated in the murdering of the Jews. Yaakov Avinu has Reuven and Shimon, and it's struggling with the first two children. You have to show the way. So Reuven and Shimon was very special in the sense that they were the first ones. After the next children already look up to the older brothers and they have the sviv around them, it's not the same. And Yaakov says, I'm not changing your status like Pasha to Shifteka. I'm changing your status like Reuven and Shimon because you fought against all odds to stay loyal to Judaism in Mitzrayim. You went through a lot more than my children went through by love, and therefore with the struggles that Ephraim and Menashe, they won with flying colors, and they totally deserve to be upgraded like Reuven and Shimon, like the trailblazers, like the founders, the people that came without nothing and they made something out of nothing. So Yaakov has this. So okay, so now so he says Keruv and Shimon, and he says the next children are. Then he explains about. So what's going on here? First of all, I want to say, Yisrael, Yosef is the okay. I'll wait a second. Hopefully, I'll speak it a little later. So now he explains why I couldn't bury Rachel. I had to bury her over there. It was Al Pi Adibra and so on and so forth because she has to save the Yiddish kids, so she has to be on the side of the road. And so, okay. The question is, why didn't he say it before? And the teretz is, before the Yosef doesn't have tinus. Who physically married Yaakov first? Leah. She was married to Yaakov first. And therefore you have to go with your wife, and he has to be Morris Makpela with his wife. She can't do the job of Rachel. She doesn't have the winning argument, and therefore she can't save the Yiddish kinder. So Rachel has to be where she is, and Yaakov goes to his first wife, to Morris Makpela. There's no clash over there. Yaakov doesn't have to explain himself. She's the first wife. You're out of luck, Yosef. As for Shalom, you're out of luck. It happens to be that Leah, love and fooled your father, and Leah married first, and she's the why? Because the whole Bechor goes through her, the whole continuation of Yaakov goes through Ruvain, and therefore, tinus, bad luck. Why am I not tall? Why am I not smart and strong and talented and beautiful and rich and healthy and everything? You out of luck. I mean, people, that's life. So Yosef he doesn't have tinus. That is life. Many things didn't happen. So um, the Bechora means the heritage, the whole the connection and the hemshech, the whole continuation, sort of the that I forgot what the stick is called. When you run and you pass over the stick, estifat, right? That stick, the whole hemshech, the shalshelis, goes to through Reuven and Leah's kids, and there's no tinus. But now that he says, Yaakov Avinu says, no, I'm instead of Reuven and Shimon, I'm putting Ephraim and Menashe. I'm giving them achad one portion alachetha more than your brothers. In other words, he's giving the bechorah, and the whole hemshech is going through Yaakov, through Yosef, and through his children Ephraim and Menashe. Ooh, now there's a big issue over here. If I'm the bechorah, if the torch is being over and the helm and the whole leadership is going through me, so then if I'm the main, so Rachel should have been the Moras Machpelah. That's where Yaakov has to explain. Over here, he has to explain why Rachel, because before he didn't have tinus, he thought it's going through the whole the Sharvat Azov is going through Reuven and Shimon and so on. But now that I'm the main, it's going through me, and Moshe Rabbeinu through Atzmas Yosef. That means Pokadati. Moshe Rabbeinu, as the end of the parsha, I'm giving over the helm to Moshe Rabbeinu. I am the chain in this long in the hemshech of Hadoris. Oh, so if it's me, so I should have been, my mother should have been a Monos Machpelah. So he has to tell him the whole thing when it was Radin. Before he didn't have tinus. After he upgrades his children, the Eniklach, Hiruvim and Shimon, then Yosef has tinus, and he had to explain himself. So Vayag Yisrael's b'nei Yosef Vayom he says, who are these? And Rashi says, there's something wrong. Vayom Me'ela, right? So Rashi says, Bikush levorchim nistalka shchin mimenu. He wants to bench them and the Shechina goes away. And he says, uh-oh. So Rashi says, Lefi shosid yirovim va'achav v'lotzis me'Ephraim v'yeyu ben Nimshi. Okay, Rashi doesn't say Nimshi, but Chazal bring down Nimshi. V'yeyu uvonov mi Menashe. Yeyev, because it says Nimshi is not direct parents, it's like the grandparents or something. But the point is that the Shechina, that means there's something deadly wrong. When the Shechina goes away, so he says, hey, Shechina goes away. That means there's somebody over here that's not connected with Hashem. The circuit breaker went off. There's no connection. Somebody is not connected to Hashem. Is anybody like Esav and Yishmael over here? So he's getting worried. And when Yaakov gets worried, Nistalkim min Ashchina, he says, Oy vey, mi eila. I knew them as my Einiklach. Before they were Einiklach. When I brought them up to the level of Shiftei Ka, of the tribes of God, oh boy, then the scrutiny is a lot stronger and more focused. And right now, Miela, they're way below the level. I can't bless them. I can't give over the blessing that I got from Esav. I mean, from Yitzchak, and not Esav, right? I got that I instead of Esav. I can't give it over. There's something in the skin is not the. I lost contact. So Rashi says, "Vayim me'ele meichen yotzu eile shein ruin levracha." They're not roy to bracha. Why aren't they roy to bracha? Because it's years later they're going to have a Yirav ben Avot and Achav. There's choyte machtes rabim, right? He doesn't go to Olam Haba. This is terrible. So if I want to give over the bracha, you want to be the hemshich. I can't go to the hemshich if the hemshich dies out later and it goes against Hashem and it's lost to the Jews. Now what's going to be? So Yosef. So Pashup Shad is so Yosef sort of says Bonai Hein. What means Bonai? Bonai is the Rosh Tevis, Yerovim ben Navot, right? And also Yehu ben Nimshi. Bonai Mashinosim Elikim Bozeh. What means Bozeh? Here Mitzrayim. What do you want? You expect better. I did much better than expected. Ephraim and Menashe, they might not be in the Shiftei Kol level, but you know how far they came with the means they had? So if you look in trying, Hashem wants to struggle. Hashem wants the yearning, and the yearning and struggle were way, way, way more difficult and more painful and more lonely, and suffering they endured much more than the Shiftei Ka. So you don't look at the level they are, look at the struggle, look at the circumstances. And once he said that, Bozeh, oh, and I want to bench them. Oh, I didn't stop. Now they're talking much better. So why are they much better? Why are they roi? So Chazal teach they didn't have the quarrel, the rivalry between brothers. Why not? So this is a muridik word, the following word. Why was Ephraim and Menashe? Why is Simcha Kimke Ephraim with Menashe? Why is Ephraim and Menashe? So I want to start this word is gewaldig. He couldn't see. So the eyes are the strongest power. It's very strong power of love, and it's the power of bracha and everything else when you look. But he couldn't do that. Chibuk is even more. Chibuk is saying, I'm holding you around you in the back. The back doesn't have anything redeeming. It's all in the front, the face, and so on. But in other words, I'm not letting you go. That's chibuk. That's the highest level of love. And then he wants and vayishaklem v'chapaklem. Vayim Yisrael el Yosef roifenechalei. V'lolti v'nei here oisi elikim gam ezrecha. I didn't imagine in my life I'd be able to see you, and Hashem even showed me your children, and he thought they weren't roi, and now Baruch Hashem they are roi, and so on. And Yosef took them out, and they bowed before, and Yosef put Yosef put the Ephraim and Menashe. So there's two parts over here which is very important. There's one part is that B'chol Yivorech Yisrael, only through Yosef, only through the struggles of Yosef becomes Ephraim and Menashe. What's the word? I'm jumping back to the Vayishtachu Yisrael Aroi Shamita. What's the Hishtachavoya? He's bowing down to Hashem. Why? Because the Rashi says the Shechina is Shruya by a Choyle, right? Mikan that Shechina is by Menashesav Shel Choyle, by the head of the Choyle. So Rosh Hamita where the head is. So is Yaakov bowing down to Yosef, or is Yaakov bowing down to the Shekhinah? It's two different things. The Teretz says he's bowing down to Yosef with the Shekhinah together. It comes biyachad. Yosef tells his father that in Mitzrayim, under these circumstances, he won with such flying colors that he never let go of the Shekhinah. He always was connected with the Shekhinah. And this is going to bring me to Vort in 2 minutes, but hopefully, so this is an amazing thing here. Yosef is saying that his Yaakov, your mita is shlema. Your bed is shlema. I never broke the rules of Hashem. I never disconnected with Hashem. In the most difficult times, by Potiphar's house, with the Nisyonis, in the jail, I never, when they beat me and hit me and they try to kill me, I never disconnected 1 second. There was there's no bumps on the road. There were difficult times, but I always kept connected. I always tried. There was one thing I never let go of: relationship, a deep, deep, deep connection. So Yosef, the Yisrael, right? What's Yisrael? Yisrael, Kuch B'rit Torais of Yisrael Chadu. It's the three of the Hashem, the Kuch B'richu, the holy Shechin of Hashem, the presence, the holy divine presence of Hashem with the Jewish nation. In other words, you need somebody in the physical world accepting it, but with the Torah, right, of Hashem together. So Yaakov Avinu is the Torah, but he's also he's also the Yaakov is Chokek B'Kisa Kovet. So he's got the Torah represented. His ruach is the Torah, but he also have Oizgar, but the Yisrael part of Yaakov, right? He went up to the level of Yisrael. And then you have the Torah, and then you have the Kutsh B'Rich, is the Shechina. So Yosef, the gematria of Yosef is 156, and the Shechina is 370, 385, 385 and 156. So you get 541. Yisrael is bowing down to the 541, one 541 to the other 541, connected this whole connection together, Shechina, Torah, and Yisrael Chadu, connecting. So Yosef says, the Roya for Bracha, the Shechina is totally here. But there's one other factor. There's one other component that Dafka Yisimcha Yisrael Yisimcha. You tell every Jew Yisimcha Lakim, Hashem should make you, put you in the same attitude and capacity of Ephraim and Menashe. Why Dafka Ephraim and Menashe? Well, look in the word. It says Ephraim before Menashe, right? It says Ephraim. It should have said Menashe and Ephraim. Menashe was older. And if you want to go Yisach and Zvulun, well, Zvulun comes first because he's the one that's supporting the Torah of Ephraim. So why are you putting Ephraim before Menashe? So that's the key over here. The key here is that Ephraim is before Menashe, and he's not haughty, he's not arrogant. That's the gewaltige Zach when the nations of the world see the Jew, that he's humble. Yes, he enjoys successes, but he's humble. So I have to get to that a drop later, but just suffice it to say, and a little by Vidgolov Bekerev, I'm going to try to explain it. And he sees the humble Jew of Ephraim. He's far higher in level than his brother Menashe. Ephraim sits in yeshiva. Ephraim is the one that that learns the Torah and keeps the Torah. And the Yisachar part, and the Zvulun part, and Yisachar means Roivich ben Yisachar Chamor Golem Roivich. Yisachar goes to sleep with the packages, with the heavy weight, with the burden. He doesn't take it off before he goes to sleep like a horse and other animals. The shore and so on. So Yisachar is committed. Even the sleeping is for learning. The sleeping is also, and all the activities of life is all that. So the Menashe is the supporter of Yisrael, right? But okay. So let's explain over here. Vayikach Yosef, Vayikach Yosef Shneim es Ephraim Yiminu Mismol Yisrael. He takes both of them, the Ephraim and the right side, Mismoil Yisrael, which is the left side of Yaakov, right? He's standing in front of Yaakov. Yisrael is Yaakov. There's Menashe Mismoil Mimin Yisrael Vayageshelov. So he puts Menashe on the right side of Yaakov and Ephraim on the left side of Menashe. And what does Yaakov do? Vayishlach Yisrael Yismini V'Yosher Zorish Ephraim V'Atzor V'Esmoil Orish Menashe Sikol Es Yodem Ki Menashe B'Chor. He takes his right hand and he puts his right hand on. He crosses his hands, makes like an X, and he puts his right hand on Ephraim, and he puts his left hand on Menashe, right? And he gives him and he gives him a bracha. Now, Sikol Es Yodem Ki Menashe B'Chor. He sequel from the seichel, right? It's verdreht the hands because the Menashe happens to be the Bechor. It should be the opposite because Ephraim is more precious. That's why he did it. No, but the Teretz says no because he kept Menashe. So you can ask two kashas. You can ask a kasha, just change them. Just put the Menashe on the left side. What do you have to fiddle around it with the hands, right? Menashe on the left side. If you want Menashe to be, get the left hand, put him on the left side and Ephraim on the right side. You can ask even a better kasha. Take one at a time. One, like you go to a gadol. You take one son, he gets a bracha, 2 seconds, then you take the other son, another few seconds. Why does he have to put both of them together? And here's the word over here. So first of all, let's before we get to the main point over here about this word, so let's work it out. Menashe is the money. Menashe is the administrative. Menashe is the Rosh HaKol. Menashe is the president. He's the guy taking care of all the physical, all the logistics and all the organizational, components. But then it comes to the Torah and the Avodah and the etzem, the spiritual. Both are spiritual, but the Yisachar part of it. Now, there's when you put on tefillin, right? You put the tefillin, you wrap your tefillin around your hand, and then you stop short before you do the fingers. Then you put the tefillin shalosh on your head, and then you go to the fingers and do the 3 rings. You put on the 3 rings. Sort of it's to be. It's the kedusha ring of with Hashem and His nation. You stay connected. You stay tied together. And Shabbos, you're tied anyway, so you're there already. You don't have to be tied, and connected. So when you take off your tefillin, you first take off the tefillin from the fingers, then from the head, and then from the rest of the arm. Why is that? Because we said a few times already, the fingers are connected to the intellect of the mind. The fingers are the part of the mind that listens to the mind. It's the connection. It's all the craftsmanship and all the talent and the creativity is done with the fingers. It's not like we don't eat bones and everything with our mouth like animals do. We use our fingers. Our intellect, special intellect that we have with our fingers more than all the other creatures. Now, so the fingers belong to the head. So when Yaakov is putting his fingers on Ephraim, what he's saying is, I'm putting the fingers of the right side, the stronger part, the smarter part, right? I'm putting it on the Ephraim's head. My hand has to go to Ephraim's head, but the physical body can stay next to my feet. In other words, my torso is one thing, is in the right place. Menashe is supposed to be on my right. Menashe is supposed to stand on my. Why does? In other words, I'm sorry. Menashe is supposed to. Menashe is supposed to stand on the right side because that's the powerful side, the chesed side, the powerful side. That's Menashe. But when you stand in the base of Mikdash and the Kodesh Hakadosh, right? So when you look from Yaakov's side, which side is the Oirich Yama Biminu Usmoile Oisha V'Chavod, right? On the right side is Oirich Yama Kehem Tzayini V'Orich that's the Torah, that's the menorah, and then with Smoile Oisha V'Chavod, left side is the Lechem Aponim, is the bread, the panas. So if you want panas, you bow by moedim and in Shemnes, you bow to the shulchan. If you want Torah and you want intellect, you bow down to the side of the menorah, right? So Oirich Yam B'Mina Usmoile Oisha V'Chavod, the left side is Oisha and Kavod. So sort of Menashe is the Oisha V'Chavod, And the Ephraim is the Yom Mina, which is the Torah. Came so what do you have? He has to change his hands, not the body. He's not going to place them. He Shachor, he's the Bechor, and he's in charge, and therefore he has to be on the right side. But the hands, the finger part, that already the intellect I'm giving to Ephraim. But I'm not taking away from Menashe. That's Pshat Ki Menashe Bechor. It should have said, in spite Menashe the Bechor. No, because he's the Bechor, I'm not changing him to the left side. And the kasha, or second kasha was, why didn't you take one after another? So here comes the again, we said that Yosef has got the purity of the Shechina. Yosef plus Shechina is the same gematria as Yisrael. It's all together, right? They're on the same. Uh, he's the bearer of the Shechina that Yaakov is passing down from this world to his descendants. So he's taking over Yaakov, right? He has that. Problem is the brothers, if there would be equal brothers to the Shiftikah, they would fight around. So Hashem made that Yosef should go through that, and Yosef should give him a true chinuch, a chinuch of be together. Brothers, don't Menashe, don't be jealous, and Ephraim, don't be arrogant, don't be a Bolgaivanik. So Ephraim's job is, even though if he gets the bracha, Ephraim first and Menashe, Ephraim doesn't hold himself bigger. Like the best case scenario that I saw in my life was my father's old Gesund Zayin, and my mother also. I saw between my father and he had one sibling, older brother, Uncle Chol. Reb Sholbold, what a Aziz Yid, a Avaramid. He taught me how to lane. He taught me all my, my shtiklus and davening. I get the inspiration I got from him. When everybody, but it wasn't chazonist. It was about tefillah, and he felt the words. I try to feel the words because I was very I was mesmerized from him. Not everybody saw it. You need to have the dakas, the sensitivity of music and the sensitivity of emotion in the words that you should be able to daven and be able. What's about tefillah? I would give you about tefillah is somebody that if you can get from the song, you can get the Pirat Hamilas. That's about tefillah. The way he stops and he pauses, and the way he puts the dogish, where he emphasizes the way through his singing, you can hear the Pirush Hamilas from those words. It is a narrative in the melody itself. The melody is saying these words. That's a true Balt Tefillah. And the little that I have, the little like a speck of dust, is from him. He had that. And that was so special about him. But in any case, what he was the older brother. He was the auditor working in the World Trade Center. Auditor is a mishgiach, the inspector of the government to all the bookkeepers. And he wasn't a tattletale. He brought thousands of Yidden to tshuva. They should pay the taxes and everything. So he was the big successful one in that. And he always, my father is short and he was the tall, big one. And he has two brilliant sons. One is running the yeshiva in Farakwi Darkei Torah. Rabbi Zevi Bald is the administrator there, and one is Rabbi Yitzi Bald, one of the greatest mechanchim and composers of music, the New York Boys Choir and everything else. So beautiful tzaddikim, beautiful people, mamish a shenkite from people. But the point is that I saw how my father, he was the more learned one in Yiddishkeit, but he was a great Talmud Chacham, a Chassidish Yid, Savan, but clean Savan. That was in those times, but every word, a sefer, a maisa, you can talk about Havlo Ilam Hazard, didn't interest him Bechlal. And when he had any second free, he would learn and go shichurim. So, but I saw my father and his brother, the covered they had for each other. My father's name is Shifty Beveis Hashem. I don't want to say Shapsi, right? Shapsi, and my his brother used to call him Patala, Shapsila, Kazazizkeit. The respect between Ephraim and Menashe over there it was all of my brothers and my sisters could testify that there was the relationship they had. They called each other every day, and the love and the covet. It was mamish, no arrogance from my father's side, and no jealousy from his brothers. Adrab, he loved Mahabas Nefesh Mamish. I never saw two brothers with such love. So the point is, there were two opposite characters, but the love was unbelievable. And why am I saying that? That that's not when you put one after another. When you put them both together, you need both together at the same time in order to get to trigger the the apathy, to trigger abyssal negativity, to trigger maybe some arrogance, to trigger maybe some jealousy over there. And there's no jealousy. Oh, they passed the test with flying colors, and oy bazoi, I can bench them. Huh. So you start putting in the right place. No, I want dafka sikalas yodov. I want a little, not rift, but a little bit of a test over here to see if they passed. And they passed with flying colors. And here's the aside why. This is the strongest word in all the last few minutes. And this is and it's why, where did they get it from? Yosef Atzadik suffered because of jealousy, and he taught them, but where did they get it from? It was in the genes. Why is that? Where does Yosef's wife come from? She is the stepdaughter of Bas Potiphera. She who is Osnas? Osnas is Dina. Osnas is, I'm sorry, the daughter of Dina. And they send her away to Mitzrayim. It shouldn't be a busha for the family that the baby raped in her. And they sent her to the. So she was Dina's daughter. Where does Dina come from? Dina comes from that Leah was pregnant with a boy. And Leah davened that this boy should go into Rachel, and Rachel's boy should go into Leah, and Rachel's girl should go into Leah. Eventually, when she gets pregnant, a girl should go into Leah. And they swapped, literally swapped, literally, the Medrash says they literally swapped. So they swapped a boy to a girl to a boy. So instead of Yosef, Yosef was going to be a girl. But Yosef, it turned out to a boy. Who was his sort of his mother? His mother was Leah. What happened was he swapped to Uber into Rachel, and it came out Yosef. Now, why is that important? Because who marries who? The daughter of Dina. Now, Dina, it was instead of Yosef. So Dina was swapped with Yosef. Then Dina has a daughter. And that daughter comes down to Mitzrayim. She would never have come to Mitzrayim. So Hashem had to do it in a backwards way, in a skewed way to get her to come to Mitzrayim so she can marry Yosef. When Leah says, I'm sorry, you have no idea how I want another son, but I can't watch my sister suffer. She's going to have fewer shiftei called than the Bilah and Zilpah, the shvachas, the maidservants. It can't be. Hashem, please take my child and give it to Rachel. Take this boy and give it to Rachel. And Rachel gave away the simonim to Leah so Leah can marry Yaakov. So they both were trying to take away Yenim's embarrassment, Yenim's bushes. Then you get Ephraim and Menashe. No other way to get Ephraim and Menashe. That's the Yisoid, that's the whole Yisoid of the bracha. The Yaakov says, you know what, Ephraim and Menashe, I can give them over this hemshech, the continuation. I can give it now over to Ephraim through you, Yosef. You went through these sorrows, you trained them well. But how did Yosef had a helper? He had his wife to partner. They both came from where their parents, that they both cried for each other. They both were worried about the bushes of the other, Rachel and Leah. And that's where you get Ephraim and Menashe. What a beautiful, beautiful shleimus of understanding. So that's why till today, every Jewish home, you want to bench, you say, Tzimchalim, not ke Menashe Ephraim, ke Ephraim and Menashe. And there was no jealousy, and there was no haughtiness, and it was beautiful together. So he benches them, Amalek, Agoy Loisi, right? Where's this? So he says, he benches Yosef, the God, the all-powerful one, the source of all powers, that my forebears, my grandparents went, my grandfather and my father went in front of Hashem. Hashem that shepherded me from shepherd. It's a moedik word. The shepherd of him means that a shepherd doesn't say if this sheep is worth it, this sheep is not worth it. Everybody is included. There's no judging over there. And if somebody needs more help, I give more help. So till today, from my beginning until today, therefore I'm saying a malach gol oisi, a malach that redeemed me, Mikol, from all evilness. Yivorchas and Adam, he should bench the kids. He should bless the children. V'yikorevem Shmi, my name. V'shem avois Avram Yitzchak, in my parents' name, Avram and Yitzchak. What's going on? Are you saying your name before Avram and Yitzchak? I tell it, he's the B'chir. He's better because he has Avram and Yitzchak and Yaakov incorporated in Yaakov. So he says, Hamalach Hagolos Mikol Ra, the malach that's the Hashem's malach, not his own malach, not from his mitzvahs and avedas. That's not shlemus. He doesn't trust himself. Yaakov is ketointim kol chasadim, but he's saying the malach that Hashem sent. He should bless these children. So where's the bracha of Yosef? If you bench my kids, that's the best bracha you can give me. So that's all Yosef wanted. To have the whole COVID Mitzrayim, didn't even care about that. What he wanted is that the kids should be erlich, and should be devoted and connected to Hashem. And then he says, what means v'koravem shmi v'shem avoisa Avram v'Yitzchak? It's very important. Shmo Gorim, the name is Gorim. They should have the name. And then there should be that name should be V'yidgu l'roi, V'yidgu like dogim. They should, like fish, l'roi, they should multiply b'kerev oretz in the land. Why dafka the land? Because the Kash is Menashe Ephraim, after this bracha, they were more than the other Shvatim. So where's the great bracha of multiplying? The Teretz is Bekerev Oretz in Eretz Yisrael. The Taka went by leaps and bounds. They shot up with such numbers, unbelievable in Eretz Yisrael, but not over here, only Bekerev Oretz. Now, what's the Vid Galaroiv? The Gemara says that there's no Ein Hara in that. Why isn't it Ein Hara? And the Teretz is because you don't see them. So I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna go back to this thing over here. I want to finish with this whatever, but I just want to say very quickly a little thing. I'm going to get to that. Let me just get to the right place here. Here. Okay, I have that. Yosef, I'm gonna go a little vort and then I'll come back to the main meat and potatoes that I wanted to share. It says Yosef Vayachi Yosef Ephraim b'nei Shleish gam Menashe Yilda b'Yosef Vayom Yosef l'chov anich mez v'gim Poki difked l'kim eschem v'hele eschem malos hazoyis v'los Hashem nishbal avrom Yitzchak Yaakov, Hashem will redeem you. And it says Yosef, and then he made them swear, just like he swore to Yaakov. Yosef died by 110 years, and then they preserved and put him in Mitzrayim. Now, a few psukim later, it says again, okay. So the question over here is, why Me'eves Hashanim? So if you look at one pasuk before that, by Shvi, it says, Va'ato altiro, don't be afraid. I will provide you, sustain you, and your children. He tried to console them, calm them down, and after they told him, we want to be avodim to you, so again, he said, you think I'm instead of Hashem? What's shot over here? So I want to give a little. I'm gonna get in a second. It says, "Va'atem chashaftem alai ro'o elikim chasav l'toy v'leman asayis kayim ezel lachis." You thought bad, but Hashem thought good, and to what is Yosef saying to them? Yosef is saying to them, you meant bad, but Hashem meant good. So Yosef is sort of trying to calm him down. What is he saying? He's saying, I can't even if I want to take Nekam, I can't take Nekam. Why? Hasachas Elokim ani? Am I instead of Hashem? What does that mean? Hasachas Elokim ani? Oship Shad is I can't. It wasn't in control. Hashem clearly orchestrated this whole Gadgadi, the whole story over here. So lahachis amrov, so save the whole human okay society as we know it in the whole, at least the Middle East, if not more. But there's a word over here that why asachas kimani. Yosef says, even if I would want to hit you hard, I can't hit you hard. Why can't I hit you hard? There's a story. I forgot who it was with. Vayechi Shloim, I think it was. I'm not sure. I can't remember names well. But there was a shaila. They came to Mazai. Somebody had a store, and he had a jug, a big jug, a big bottle. Let's say I don't know, a 5-gallon bottle of whiskey, and it was expensive whiskey. It brought him a nice amount of money. It would bring him, but they made a rule. You can't. They wanted to always hurt the Yidden. No, you can't sell whiskey anymore. And they should sell the kids. So the government wanted to take control. What do? So you can't sell it anymore. So what do? You put a few boxes and sacks in front of it, and the Haimashid, the ones that know, I need l'chaim for the outside, I need l'chaim for kiddush. How could you go without whiskey? I should go pay all that money in the knossim and that. So he has it already. So for the Egener, for the Unzers and the Egeners, they came around. The people, the Yiddelach, they came around. And they came and they brought the bottle and he would pour it into the bottle and the shine they would pay him. One guy comes in and didn't pay. And the next time he comes, he didn't pay. The third time he comes, he said, I'm not giving you anymore. You didn't pay. You didn't pay. You're not paying. You're just drinking and you promised me it's not worth a penny. So he got very angry and he civiled of it and he threw his hands and the whole bottle went flying and it crashed on the floor and he spilled the whole thing. And now he has a big nezek. What do? Now, what happened was, it was Min Shemayim. He had no kindness in the Eibishter because that very day that it broke yesterday, the very next day, the government comes in, somebody tattletale that this Jew has whiskey, and they came in, where's the whiskey? They're going to arrest him. He says, no, 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 no. But I smell whiskey here. Yeah, Itaka used to sell the whiskey, but you said that there's no whiskey anymore, and that's it. So we dropped the bottle. You can still look at the floor, you see broken pieces of glass, and the whole floor sopped in the whole whiskey. That's why it smells here, but I don't have. Go check it out. And they went, they checked, and they saw it's true, and they scratched off the floor. They smelled like a whiskey, so he was a loyal citizen. That's why he don't have the whiskey. The next day, they left, and they said, yeah, this Jew is good. It was a false alarm. The very next day, he goes to the Vayechi Shloim and he says, Rebbe, the guy broke my whiskey. Not only he owes me for 3 times, and now he didn't. So that guy went to Bayer, and the guy told him to Taina that if a guy puts in a fishing net into the water, and he picks it up, and what happened was, you take the net, you throw it into the water, you put a few pieces of bread, right? You keep it there for a few seconds, right? A minute or two, whatever it is, or a few minutes. The kids, what happened was the guy threw it in on Shabbos, and he was over Shabbos. You're not allowed to be tzod, you're not allowed to capture animals, hunt animals on Shabbos. You're not allowed to put them in a cage or in a net. And then if it dies, then you're not allowed to take away a neshama or a nefesh, whatever it is, you're not allowed to take away from a life on Shabbos. So the point is that what happens is that you throw in the net and you start talking for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever it is. And he turned around. They didn't chap. There were many people there, and somebody's baby fell in, and it fell in a second before he turned around to pick up the net. He didn't stop that the baby fell in. Actually, nobody chapped that it fell in. I think people are throwing stuff. There's noise and splashes. People are washing the dishes. People are washing the clothing. So nobody chapped. But when he picked up the net, a Mazel, he picked it up that second. He turned around, picked it up, because it turns out the baby was in the water for a second. So he wasn't dead, Baruch Hashem, and they banged on his back, and he coughed out the water that he had, and he was alive. So now what happened? What about Shabbos? He saved a life. So he picked up the net. It wasn't about tzad, it was about saving a life. So he's put for the fish that came up along with it. In other words, it's not that you can eat it on Shabbos, but the point is he wasn't the whole Shabbos openly because he saved the kid. So this guy says, he comes to the rabbi with a chachma, and he says, Rabbi, I'm not mechuyev because the fact, if I wouldn't break his schnapps bottle, then what happened was they would come and they would confiscate it. They would put him in jail for a long time because, the Jew, making a korban out of the Jew, and they would give him a big knas, a big fine, a big sum, and he would lose a lot of money. So I saved him. I saved his back. So he owes me, not I owe him. So the Cheshik Shlomi said it's not the same thing. Why? Because in order to be the same thing is when you broke the wine. The when a guy throws in the net, he's still not over Shabbos. If there's eight of it, the fact that when he picks up the net, he tzod chayis or whatever it is. So then he's over. So when he picked up the net, he's not over because he picked out a baby, right? He saved a life. But the point is over here is you went and broke it because of jealousy. You broke it because of your class and hatred. So you did evil. The breaking was the evil. Putting in the net wasn't the evil. It's not the same. The kid, so he has to pay. What do you mean? Okay. Now, the brothers of Yosef Kentaina, right? What does he tell them? Where's in the pasuk? I just had it here. He can say, "Va'atem chashaftem alai ro, Elokim chashav l'toiv l'man asois kayim zalachis rov to save the whole humanity." So you broke the bottle, but through breaking the bottle, you saved the guy's back. He wasn't put into jail. He wasn't given a knas. He wasn't beat up or worse. But what does Yosef say? Hashem sent me. Here, let's quote it. Um, in Vayigash it says, "Va'ato alte yotzu," right? Don't be so depressed and well, don't be so upset because Hashem made me a shliach over here. I have a mission and I fulfilled my mission, Baruch Hashem, with flying colors. So what's pshat over here? That is that the brothers Kataina, look, we did a bad thing, but it turned out good. The teretz is no, so the teretz says, no, you're still chayiv. Why are you chayiv? You're chayiv because the deed was a bad deed. It wasn't like picking up the baby on Shabbos. It was like breaking the bottle of whiskey. So the deed was a bad deed. So the fact that later was shlachani lekim, the fact that it turned out well for this guy with the storekeeper, that's none of your business. He did a hezek and he has to pay. So lemaisa. Yosef, right? Lemaisa, Yosef says no problem, but they did have a problem. They did have them, and that's what we pay until today. We pay for it. To Mechiris Yosef, the biggest tabeir in Adam L'Chabeir in the history of the world. Now let's go. Now with that, let's explain over here. Yosef says, if I want to pay you back, I would have to find out a way, a certain dogma, a certain. I would have to find a scheme where I can do something bad to you, and it's going to turn out good. Am I God? Only God can see, ahead that, like hindsight. 2020 that you can do this thing and the bad will turn into good. I don't know how to make bad into good. I can't guarantee you bad will turn into good. Am I instead of God? I can't do that. Only Hashem knows how to orchestrate bad that turns into good. I can't do the bad that turns into good. So I can't. Don't worry. There's nothing to be afraid of. Okay, because I can't. I can't take Nekama even if I would want to, because I don't know how to do bad that turns into good, just like you did. So and that's why he tells him, "Va'ato al tiro anoiches halkaleskan." Now here's the thing: Yosef dies early. Why does he die early? This is something important. It says the Gemara. I think it's in Saita. The Gemara says that you me the pronis, and it's one Chazal teach 500 times, but over here it says 7 times. So 7 times, how many years did Yosef suffer? Yosef suffered. So let's make a judgment. Yosef becomes king by 30, dies at 110. So how many years was he king? 80 years. That's pretty good. 80 years, pretty good. But what's the kasha? The kasha is it should have been more than 80 years. Why more than 80 years? Because Yosef suffered 12 years, 1 year as a servant, and then 12 years in jail to get a 13. And if you get for me the toiva, you get for suffering, you get 7 times right reward. So 7 times 13 is 91. So 91 years Yosef should have been a king. He should have had a good 91 years. So why is he missing he was only a king 80 years. Why is he missing 11 years? And the teretz is that we said the last week or the previous weeks, we said 5 times they said about their father Tim, and he didn't protest, Avdecha, your servant, about Yaakov. And 5 times a translator, right, had a translator. You know, that's last week's parsha, and also whatever. Um, uh, what's it called? 5 times I counted. Then maybe an end of Miketz also. I have to look it up. But in the beginning of Vayechi for sure. Yehuda says so. They say 5 times plus the translate to translate into Egyptian. Another 5 times. That's 10 times. And one time the Gemara says uh, because Ainara. What's shot in this Ainara? We'll get to that in a second, but I just want to say the following. When you talk about the Gemara says, what's the reason Yosef died early? So he died because of Pnei Harabonus. What's Rabonus? Rabonus is when you're Rabonus is sort of when you're higher than bikoret, you're higher than critic. You know, if there's a rebbe, they won't criticize. It's not nice. If there's a rav or a shiva, don't criticize. It's not nice. I go to lado, don't criticize. No, it's a king. It's not nice. It's not manners, right? Talabid nisagile. Today is his day, so you have to bow down to him. Rashi brings it down about Yosef. He bows down to Yosef because Talabidne, sly fox. Bidne, every dog has its day, and that was his day. He's shining now. Now he's the king, so he bowed down to him. But Yosef, he bowed down 10 times, so he lost 10 years. So instead of 91, it's 81. So what another year? Because of Rabbanus. What's Rabbanus? He's sort of a higher position than everybody, and people could be jealous. So the kasha is it says Ben Parat Yosef, right? The Sfardim, we say Bili Ein Hora, the Sfardim say Ben Parat Yosef. B'nai Sada, B'nai Sada, yeah. Where's Yosef? Bein Peres Yosef Ben Peres Ale Oyin, Bonoy Sad Ale Shur. What happened? The girls would stand and they look at the beauty of the figure and the face of Yosef. He was mamish, tachlis, a beauty from the bria, mamish. So everybody looked and wished to have a husband like him and so on. Bonoy Sad Ale Shur. They stood in the sides and they looked at him behind the wall, and it was mamish. And Yosef doesn't have Ein Hara. Why doesn't he have Ein Hara? Lo sholta beinav yitgul roiv, like the Dogim Yaakov Vinu says. And here and if the Gemara says that he does because of Rabbanis he does have Ein Hara, so what's the pshat? He lost another year because of Rabbanis. Okay, others say he lost many years because of Rabbanis, 10 years, but I'm combining both pshat together. So 1 year for Rabbanis, and so here's the word. When somebody's rich, why are they jealous of him? They're jealous because they feel that he got something unearned. He didn't earn it. Undeserving. He didn't deserve it. I should be more deserving than him. I suffered more than him. I worked harder, and so on and so forth. What brings success? Success is hasmid, smother again and again and again. Vishinantum. You have to chew and chew and chew and chew. The consistency is everybody runs the first stretch, second stretch, but nobody runs the last stretch. If you'll outrun everybody, not faster, but more intense and more consistent, you'll beat most of the pack. You'll be from the 1% of successful people, not because you're smarter, because you have a smarter. So if you really want it that badly, put in the time and and you get it. Especially in Torah, if you want it so badly, you'll get it. So it's why are they jealous? I put in the time and he gets it. What's the shot? How could it be? And people are jealous. That's you go to a girl And you say, you became the husband of the king, the Kala of the king? Why you? They're much better girls than you. You know it, they're much more menschlich and anova and pretty and behind and talented and smart and stronger and richer. Why? What's your yichus? Nothing. What's your credentials? And she says, I taka don't know. I have the same kasha. I have no idea why he chose me. This humility is so amazing. It's so comforting. Such a person, nobody's jealous. She's on everybody's side. I taka don't know why me. She for days and weeks in front of everybody. What does everybody see? He's begging her to be his wife, and she says, "I know they're much better girls than me. No, I'm not deserving. I can't." So everybody says, "Just go already." Clearly he's crazy over you, and they're pushing him. He doesn't want to go. Everybody is already they feel for her, they feel bad for her, and they're encouraging her to go, although they would want to be, but they see clearly he wants her. So such a person, nobody's jealous, right? It's a person that just became rich gets ayin hora. Somebody that was always rich, and people got used to it, and he's humble, and why are they jealous of him? He gives away of his time, and is not haughty, and he doesn't snob anybody out, right? You have people that snob people out, and it's horrible, and we're all. I'm gonna, sometimes they don't snob you out. Sometimes you think they're snobbing you out. I have many times people can think I'm snobbing them out. I'm just watching my back because I was hurt too many times. I was too gullible and I was too naive and I was too forthcoming. I was too open and I was too giving and too flexible, and people take advantage. There are many people, not many, but enough people that like foxes, sly foxes, they like the wolves, and they're like wild animals that they second they see good sky, they right away translate that into weakness, and they take advantage, and they come and chas v'shalom, they attack right away. So sometimes we have to play cold, not because we're snobby, not because we're haughty, because sometimes we have to just watch our backs. So you have to give, sometimes you have to give a little time. And if you show that the people that stop Yedim's intentions, and out of thousands of times they weren't wrong. They read the room very well, and this time is exception. Okay, there are a few exceptions, but most times it's not exception to the rule, and therefore not everybody's snobby. But sometimes you come across as snobby, and it's intolerable. It's a horrible feeling, right? So when somebody is jealous, is because this guy says it's it's me that did it. But if you come across every time Elikim, 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 Elikim Chashov Elatoiv, it's not me. Elikim Yada Eshloim Paroi. It's not me. I'm the Poiser Chaloi. I can decode any secrets and any no. What kind of navi? What kind of navi could you make out of me? Nothing. I happen to be in this position. You put me here. I never asked for it, and so on. So I'm fulfilling my position. It's not about me. Nachamo. Ari says, "Rak akise egdol mimcha." Many times you have a Rav and a Rebbe and a director and a president and a prime minister and a mayor and a governor. Many times you have a boss, but there's no credentials. They don't deserve this position. There's nothing they did for it. They just yarshened it, they inherited it, and so on. They had the mazel. They had the mazel, but there's no real rhyme and reason why this guy specifically has it. In other words, you can replace this leader with many other people that would do just as good as the job and maybe even better. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu felt. You take anybody and give him what Hashem gave me, he'll do a much better job. That's true Anivus. Anivus is I don't take credit for what I did because everybody could have done even a better job. Hashem, for some reason, chose me. He had Rahmanish, wanted to give me some attention. And I maybe I need it. I don't know, but he's real, for real, and he's keeping it real. When somebody does it that way, it's not about. Pari says the truth is, I'm not better than you, Yosef. You're much better than me. So what can I keep? But I'm bigger than you. Rakakise egnometa. Because I'm going to be the one sitting on the throne. I'm wearing this struckers, this velvet. I'm wearing this special attire and garbs that the regular oilam doesn't wear. So I'm special. That makes me special because otherwise you wouldn't see it in me that I'm special. when the king goes and hides himself and he puts on, regular civilian clothing, and he goes between the crowd, and you wouldn't know it because there's nothing innately shining about him. It's just his clothing is outside chitzonius, the palace and the chariots and the big limousines and the Rolls Royces and whatever it is that he is driving in, and the planes that he's flying in, and the Adgadia, the people around him, so that it's Rakakisi Egdel Mecca, not the innate Paris bigger than him. It's not. That's not godless. True godless is without the fanfare, without the old specialty. You see on this person clearly he's a godly person. When Yosef says he's a godly person, then there's no ein hora, lo sholta be'ena. You don't see something in him that you're jealous of because all you see in him is godliness. And he says, it's not me, it's Hashem. I have no shaykhs to it. I'm not deserving, and I have no idea. But Tointi Mikola Chasodim and Mikola Emes, I really, really don't know why I was born a Jew and why he chose me in this position and why he gave me a wife and why he gave me children. And Bechlal, he gave me grandparents and parents and uncles and aunts and receivers and rebbes and teachers and friends and neighbors. Why he chose me one out of 1,000, but one out of billions of being a Jew. Why he chose me, I have no idea. If you walk around like that, not that I'm better than you, there's no Ein Hara over there. But here Yosef comes and says, Anoichi, achalkel eschem. Hashem says, oh yeah? You're going to be machalkel? You're going to provide? You're going to protect? Hey, that's it. Ein Hara kicks right in. And he lost years of his life. And that's what the Gemara means. The Rabbanus part of it, the master part of it, the balabos part of it. How many hours? Oh, wait, it's already 2.5 hours. Let me just finish off with this little thing here. The parsha, the parshas before talk about Ma Yisrael, Yaakov, a Musa palm. He saw Yosef already. Let me go see him because I won't, I can't, I don't believe. I thought Yosef, he didn't bring me shiftei car. He didn't know about Ephraim and Menashe. And he thought if he's alive, he's doomed and gloomed. He's in Gehenna because he probably is off the derech and he forgot about Judaism and he cut off Judaism from his neshama and the kitzah. He's not connected. He didn't know if he has Bechal children, what happened, or he died physically. There's no no continuation. And Yaakov said he's not going to Olam Haba. There's nothing to hope for in this mamish. He stayed loyal. But a Musa Pam Acheresi, now he can go up to the world, the long world, Olam Shukuli Toiv, because he can go to Olam Haba because now he saw Yosef. Physically, he saw him. And tangibly he saw him, and he saw that he's such a tzaddik. He didn't know he's such a tzaddik, but when he saw his eyes, he said, wow, es shayint. Just like Yaakov said, let me go see V'terem Omus. If he survived Mitzrayim, that's way, 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 way higher madrega of struggle, of pain and torture than he endured by Lavan. And therefore, on Yenevelt, I probably won't see him. He's a Rav. He's my rabbi. Let me go see him before he dies, because if Yenevelt, he won't see him. So let me grab the opportunity, and go see him in this world. That's the only place where I can still see him. Such a high level of Yosef. And Yaakov comes to him and he lays Krishma. We ask the Kasha, why Krishma? Wait 5 minutes, hug him and kiss him. He missed your love for so many years and you're saying Krishma. So we explained last week. If you want, look to the share. I know a few hours, but whatever. Yaakov, what does Yaakov say in Krishma? He says the first pasuk, and Baruch Shem Kavod. If maybe he said the whole Krishma, but the point is, the main part he screamed out Shema Yisrael. What's the Shema Yisrael? What he's saying in Shema Yisrael is Rebbeinu Shalom. I thought, where's justice? He had 12 children, but he lost one and he blamed himself. He sent Yosef to them. He couldn't understand what happened. He thought he was doing the right thing, and now he's not going to Olam Haba. And Olam Hazeh for sure doesn't have. He's tortured that he's missing his most lovely son Yosef. Olam Haba he's not getting because he doesn't have the. He didn't fulfill his mission of Shiftei Kov 12 Shvatim. So now he has not this world, not Yenevelt. And it looked like it's not fair. It looked like Rebbeinu Shalom, all that suffering that he endured, Rebbeinu Shalom, what for? What for? Usually you suffer and then later you get something for it. Usually you suffer and you ain't something nothing. He doesn't see even Olam Haba. He won't be in the Viv Kedusha, Viv Tahara with the Lisanigal Hashem with Fieneveld to cleave to Hashem, to get this aura of Hashem, he mamish, he felt terrible. And then he comes and he sees Yosef. And he sees Yosef, and all of a sudden, everything makes sense. It all comes to him. All of a sudden, he gets such a simcha. And when he sees him in the Shekhinah, comes back in after 22 years, and the Shekhinah comes in, and he finally has the Ruach HaKodesh, and he sees that Yosef is clean and pure, and he sees, wow, so all this pain that he endured, all this pain that I endured for so many years, all my davenings and all my learnings, all my lezeichen ishmasei and lezeichen ifuasei, and all that I invested, all the tehillim and everything else wasn't for naught. Look at it. Look at him, Baruch Hashem. A tzaddik for a young man, a tzaddik for the middle aged. Okay, it was more than he was 56 already. He's more than Roiv. More than one half of 110 is 55. Was 56. But the point is that the 30 plus 30 plus 7 Shnei Sava plus 2 of Shnei Rob, that's already 39 plus 17 is 49, it's 56. Yeah, 56 is more than half. And Roif Shnoisav, he was pure. Then Chazak is there'll be, it's no guarantee, but it's Chazak. So he saw that he's pure and he felt that he'll be pure to the end of his life. So Yaakov screams out, "Come on, Yisrael. Listen, Yisrael, you hear what tutzah, you hear what's going on over here. Hashem Elokeinu, the Hashem of Midas Sarachimim, Elokeinu, the Midas Sadin, it's all one and the same. Hashem Echad, it's one and the same." He's screaming out that all the torture of the 22 years and all he endured by Lovin and Esav and all the years, the ganze Geschichte, it was all Hashem Echad. And that's why he learned Krishma. Yosef had that life. Yosef came, he doesn't have to learn Krishma. He lived Yosef, all the torture, kept strong and held in, and Yosef stuck it out. And Yosef never lost the connection. He knew Hashem Echad all along. He didn't have this gap of 22 years with the Shekhinah wasn't Shaya. Now Yaakov goes and he's almost dying. And he wants to say the Kates. He wants to tell him there's 2 times Be'ita Nachishena. And he wants to tell him the Be'ita time. When is the time that Mashiach will come redeem us all? And he wanted to say, and he lost everything. He blanked out. Nistume name Shal Yisrael. He doesn't know. So what does he think again? Oy, the same thing that he thought for 22 years. Then one of his children is again some Yeravim, some Yishmael, some Esav that he's hiding. He's hiding. So now that's why I can't give over the connection. I can't get over the Hemshah. So what happens is when Yaakov feels that, he says, Oy vey is mir. Right, I can't give it over. It's not mitosu shlema. So they assure him by saying, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Echad. The brothers say the same thing. They pledge allegiance, and they say, Shema Yisrael, Ad Hashem and Elokeinu is Hashem Echad is one in the same. We the same. So how come how come he can't see? Because I don't want to, because I want to give the Jews a chance to be Achishena before the time. If you're going to say the time, so first of all, to be Sotzubrachim, but then if it sure won't be, I want to give him the opportunity to bring Mashiach much earlier. So how do we finish off? Hey, osva agidu lachem esa sheyikra eschem. What is yikra eschem? Yikra should have been with a hey. What's going to happen to you? Why does it say with an aleph? That's what I remember. I saw it in this microphone. Because it says Moshcheni in Shir Hashirim, Moshcheni, let me, Narutz acharecha, let me run after you. I'm so schwach, I can't get, let me out of the balota, the mud, so I can run after you. And mamish don't even have koyas. It's about in Pesach time, you schlep him out of Egypt. The point is, there's two Mashiachas on a behema. There's one Mashiach, you take a stick and you smack the daylights out of him, and he starts running from Alazaitin. That's giving pitch. Hashem can give Holocaust. The second way is Mashiach. You call it and it comes. You call it and it comes. We say, Esa sheyikra eschem ba'achres hayomim. The message of Yaakov is it's going to be Yikra eschem. I want to tell you before I tell you everyone, each one of you, your mission in life. I want to tell you more than the whole main mission is Yikra Eschem. We hope for the day that Hashem will call us, not with pitch, but He'll call us and will narutzach mashcheni schlep us with words and narutzach with tevus and brachas and yeshuas, and we'll have twice. We'll do chazak ourselves. The third time already, v'nis chazek Hashem will do give us the physic that we so dearly need. And with Mashiach, everybody's collective mission in life, like the Birchas Yaakov, and the personal mission life, like Birchas Yaakov, and the collective mission. Mitzvah Shem, Amen. Thank you very much for listening. I know it's many hours, but I appreciate it very much.